Practice Management, Claim Details Screen Layout Overview. In this video, we're going to look at the anatomy of the claim screen. Now, there are numerous other videos that deal with the different functionalities of working a claim, tracking the claim status, and things of that nature. We're simply going to look at the screen from top to bottom, how to read the data on the screen, and discuss where that data comes from in the database and how it populates your claim. So I'm logged in here as Quinn Perkins, our biller, and I've gone ahead and opened up a claim. Now, starting here in the upper left, this top row is our work list filter and navigation section. Now, this lets each biller personalize their claim search during their session. Of course, here in the far upper left, we have the ability of adding a new claim, which will default to the patient we're on if we need to create a new claim. We can do a search to select an entirely different patient and/or claim. And then we have our funnel or our filter icon. Now, all of these, of course, are covered in separate videos, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. But the funnel is important to note because you'll see that right now the image is grayed out. It's just a black image, indicating that we are now looking at every claim A to Z, billed, unbilled, on hold, voided, etc. For a biller, however, if they want to easily use these navigation arrows over here on the right to create an efficient work list to scroll through, you can set filters. Now, again, the filters is a separate video, but just to demonstrate how this works for you, I'm just going to go here on the left-hand side and choose my status indicator to look at only my claims on hold. I'm going to apply my filter real quick. You'll notice now all of my statuses that I'm going to scroll through are on hold because that's how I set my filter, and my funnel is now showing in green. So now as I move over to the right, my navigation arrows work in conjunction with that filter. The last icons on this row, the magnifying glass, will allow you to preview the claim you're on. Now when you click that preview option, the choices are going to vary based on the claim and its status and its payer. For instance, right now, I have a claim that only has one insurance on it. It is also not billed yet. So my only choices here are a primary insurance claim and a statement for that date of service. So the choices within this preview do change from one claim to another based on those different parameters. You will always have the option of viewing the statement even on a self-pay claim. And then whether you have primary, secondary, or tertiary insurances will determine the other options that are open to you. Next, we have the printer icon, and very similar to what we just spoke of on the preview, the choices within that is going to vary, whether your claim has already been billed or not. You noticed I got an error there telling me I cannot print it because I've chosen a claim that has not been billed. Once the claim has been billed, however, I'm just going to go ahead here and do a quick search on a claim that is in a billed status. When you click the printer icon on a billed claim, you get options again as we saw on the preview. And again, since I chose one that has a primary insurance only, my only choice is to print the primary insurance. So with regards to this top row, this is at a system level. The content below is going to be an individual claim at a time. But the claim content of your work list is going to be based upon your filter, your ability of navigating through, and then if you needed to add a new record, search for a different record to change the claim you're on, or for the one that you're viewing if you would like to print it. Now moving down to the next section on our claim details page is our header. Now the header section, you'll notice, is a combination of static data, some hyperlinks as indicated by the blue underlined font, and we've also got various icons. Some of these icons are patient level, some are claim level. Briefly, left to right, top to bottom again. The first one here, the notepad with the $sign, is our billing note. Now when that $sign is blacked out, as you see here, that means there are no billing notes associated. If billing notes have been entered, the $sign will display in red. Billing notes are at the patient level, and they are date and time stamped per the user who is creating them. Billing notes are free text, and they are shared between the practice management and the EMR side. Now notice once I've saved my note, the $sign does change now to a bright red, and if we go in and read the note now, we will see that it was user Quinn Perkins with the date and time stamp. Now, right next to our billing note, we notice that her name is a hyperlink. If we click on that, it's going to open up the patient demographic details, which corresponds, of course, to patient register on the EMR side. So while on the claim, if you need to do anything with regards to verifying demographics, next of kin, phone numbers, etc., you have a quick link right there on the claim page. Now, just going down that left margin in the header, we have static labels, our date of birth, our chart number. And in this case, since I am on a billed claim now, my batch number is disabled and it is showing the batch associated to the claim. Now, if you are not using our batch system, this field will exist, but it will simply be non-populated. If you are using batch assignment and your claim is not billed, this will be a data entry field, allowing your biller to associate a batch number before transmitting the claim. Moving into our second column, we have our rendering doctor. Now, the rendering doctor is the credentials which will go on the bill. This may or may not be the same as the attending doctor on the visit, assuming it is an EMR claim. Sometimes in the billing world, for those of you who do not have our EMR product and you're using practice management only, you may use the term attending doctor. For those of you who have our EMR site, however, the attending doctor has relevance on the clinical side as being the physician who treats the patient in the office. Sometimes that is going to also be the doctor who bills for the services, but in many situations there is a supervising provider under whom the services are billed, which therefore would be known as the rendering doctor here on practice management. Therefore, the label on your claim page is going to show as rendering doctor. Underneath that, we have our insurances, and you'll notice we have primary, secondary, tertiary. The umbrella opens up the patient level insurance itself. The eligibility check mark would have eligibility details if they exist for that payer. And then notice how each of the payers is hyperlinked. On a billed claim, you're able to change the insurance through the hyperlink. On a non-billed claim, these are simply labels. You cannot change the insurance on a billed claim through the hyperlink because those are associated to the AR buckets once the claim has been billed, and that is why they become individual hyperlinks. In a non-billed status, these would be labels because you can change the insurance through the umbrella. The third column, we have our claim ID. That is system generated when the claim gets created. That would be associated to your EOBs when they get paid. Now notice that that is a hyperlink. If I click that hyperlink, it simply summarizes the charge rows on my claim, and it gives you a date and timestamp, or the last time it was updated. Now on my billed claim again, we have our paperclip and our magnifying glass. And this example, they're disabled because there are no attachments. Now if I go back to my original claim that is in a non-billed status, notice how the paperclip and the magnifying glass are now enabled. The paperclip allows you to browse your system and attach something to your claim. That would simply open up your Windows Explorer so that you can navigate. Once you've attached it, the magnifying glass allows you to preview it. That is stored here at the claim level only. So it would have to be something of significance for that claim. We then have our date of service. Posting date is a field that every practice has the ability of locally defining what they want that to represent. It is a data entry field at the point of claims that have not been associated with batch entry. You'll notice here on my non-billed claim, I have the batch assignment field enabled. Therefore, my posting date is disabled because it is going to correspond to my batch creation. If I was not using batch billing, my batch number field would be empty and my posting date would be enabled to allow me to enter a different date for my posting date. That is for those of you who would like to trace activity on the day it's actually entered into the system, such as staff productivity, when it is different from the date of service. We next have our pre-authorization hyperlink. That would open up your pre-authorization numbers if there are any. They would be displayed at the top so that you could associate them to your claim, or you can add new ones if at the point of billing you're actually obtaining the authorization. Now in the final column, we have these claim-focused icons. The U and I buttons are very similar as far as the content underneath. They are specific pieces of information at an insurance requirement level. The I button opens up a screen of additional information. This is covered in a separate training video. The U button is for our institutional billing on a UBO4. What we're covering primarily right now is your professional billing, which is on a CMS 1500. We next have our progress note if you need to read the doctor's progress note while you're reviewing a claim. On a ready-to-bill claim or non-billed, your claim ledger will be disabled. If the claim has been billed, however, your claim ledger will be enabled so that you can get a summary of that claim's charges as well as payment activity. The hand icon allows you to assign that claim to another individual in your office to do follow-up. Once a claim has been billed, if it has been denied, there is a shortcut to allow you to open up the denied charge rows so that you can take the appropriate action. We have a claim letter, very similar if you are familiar with our EMR side when you are using the correspondence screen for faxing or emailing letters to third parties. You have that option here at the claim level as well. Now it's going to be associated to that claim, so you'll notice here at the top we are hard-coded to the claim ID that I've chosen for Jack's Teller. You can address it to whomever you need to in conjunction with that patient, whether it's their insurance, their subscriber, their attorney. You have the ability of accessing both their EMR documents, which would be progress note, procedure notes, and so on, lab results, depending on what the insurance is requesting, and then anything that you've associated on the billing side, if they want a copy of the EOB or the denial letter. You also can bring in canned letter templates, or you can free text those in. And then you have the ability of emailing, faxing, or printing that document. We have claim notes. Now, claim notes is separate from billing notes that we talked about a little earlier. Claim notes is specific to this claim ID. Billing notes is specific to the patient. Therefore, the billing notes, as we mentioned, are shared between EMR and practice management. Claim notes are only visible here in practice management, and they are directly associated to this claim only. Now, they also are free text. They are date and time stamped to the user. So when you are doing your follow-up on your outstanding claims, this gives you an opportunity of tracking everything that you're doing in resolving that claim. And then finally, we have the patient account icon. This opens the patient account screen, which is at a patient level, an entire transactional overview in the practice management side. We then have our link to the copayment and the amount that that patient has paid for this claim. Copayment is typically captured at the time of service at the front desk. And then again, if we were talking about a billed claim, this sent section and status would be different. Right now, you'll notice our status says ready to bill. Our railroad track and our archived list are grayed out. If I go back here real quickly again and choose my billed claim, you'll notice I have a sent date. The bill status now shows as billed, and my railroad track is enabled. Now, once a claim is processed within PrognoCIS, and that's whether it's printed to a hard copy CMS 1500 or transmitted to an EDI 837, the claim status is tracked both at the clearinghouse and payer level through the railroad track. This provides a transaction log with date and timestamps of all the activity, both at a system and user level. Now that is covered in a separate training video, so I'm not going to go into detail with it here, but it does allow you to track the status of a claim up until the point it appears on an EOB. This last icon, the list of archived claims, shows enabled here on Levi Jeans because he has had claims reopened. Most of the time this icon will be grayed out, meaning that it is an original claim. The list of archived claims is for situations where a previously billed claim has been reopened, when something has been wrong on the original claim and you now need to make a correction. The archived claim, which we see here in a status A, is maintained for troubleshooting purposes. So you will always have a static image of that original claim that went to the payer. And you'll notice it here in a status of archived reopened, and it has the yellow border around the claim details header. Now, archived claims do not show up in your standard claim searches, but when you are on a claim that has been reopened, you will have access to the list of archived claims to see that original. So that is your claim header. Now, the middle section here is our diagnosis and service location area and those types of billing level detail. So first of all, along the left-hand margin here, you see we have our diagnosis table. The plus sign opens up your IMO search, which gives you the opportunity of searching through your preferred codes or the entire AMA library of diagnosis codes, as well as any custom codes you have defined in the practice. The H button opens up that specific patient's medical history on the EMR side, any ICD codes that the doctor has saved. Assessment level changes reflects any new assessment codes the doctor has added since the claim was initially created. And then your resequencing arrows, you'll notice here if I go ahead and add in another diagnosis here, and then I decide that that really should be my principal diagnosis, I can click my up arrow and that now becomes my primary diagnosis. Now the location and business unit defaults. Some of the information now that we're going to look at in these drop-down pick lists actually default from your system setup. The location is coming off of the appointment in EMR. This is going to pull your tax ID, all of the correct credentials, the taxonomy and things of that nature. Business unit then is for group billing. For instance, here we've got in our training environment 2 business units. We have on the Bay Internal Medicine and we have the sports clinic. And if we go back to our service locations, there are 4 locations. Sports clinic is its own corporation. It has been incorporated with its own federal tax ID number, its own NPI, its own credentialing, whereas the other 3 locations are all owned by the business unit on the Bay Internal Medicine. CL is always the clinic's primary location indicator. Sports clinic then would be the second one. Now again, this is handled through normal setups, but if you notice that the appointment had happened to come over under the wrong location, you could change that. Otherwise, your claim would be billed with the improper credentials. Your place of service, type of service, these are coming over also from the EMR side on your encounter type, such as is it an office visit, is it an outpatient hospital, a rural health clinic, and so on. So a lot of this, again, if they choose the appropriate information when they make the appointment, it will default to the correct indicators for your claim. Financial class, as in our financial class video, we learned there are 2 levels of financial classes in PrognoCIS. There is claim level and patient level. So if you want to associate a financial class for local reporting purposes for this claim, you have that opportunity here. Accept assignment usually defaults to assigned, but if for some reason you are billing an insurance as a courtesy for your patient, maybe the patient paid in full, they have a health spending account arrangement with their payer and they need reimbursed, you don't want to have to send them a refund, so you can come in here and say not assigned, so that when you bill that claim, the insurance knows to pay the patient directly. By default, however, this will always default on insurance claims as assigned benefits. Fee schedule will always show as default, which typically is going to be your Medicare fees. As covered in our fee schedule training video, you will learn that you can have multiple fee schedules based on payer and doctor and location scenarios. So if needed, you may have different fee schedules dropping. The default fee schedule is usually your usual and customary. Now just below the fee schedule, you'll notice I have a blank space here on this claim. This is an informational area for different scenarios. For instance, if I go open up our claim for Albert Abbott, you'll notice that it tells us it's capitated, which means the entire claim has been written off. If I look up Shirley Haney, we see Asset Recovery, who is a collection agency, because Shirley has been referred off to a collection agency. Other information we may see there, those of you who use the employer billing model, for instance, if we look at Emily Shannon, it shows the employer as Victoria's Secret and so on. So it may be blank in some instances, or based on different scenarios, you will see information display there. On the right-hand side, we have our work comp, auto, and other accident. Now these 3, if we're dealing with an accident claim, I'm just going to go ahead and click this as an auto accident. You're going to see that my indicators are now color-coded. There are different colors up here based upon the type of accident. It could be orange, as you see in this example, for auto. It could be red for workman's comp. This is to visually notify the biller that there's accident-related details under the injury button. Also, some additional details under the I button that are applicable for injury situations. That is covered in more details in our accident and injury billing video. Then we have these check boxes such as provider signature on file, pregnancy related, if this claim is associated to a payment plan that the patient has previously established, and if it is an employer billing claim. Now the bottom part of our claim screen here is our charges section. You'll notice you have the ability of adding a new charge. We have CPT HCPC by default, specialty charges or items, depending on if you have over-the-counter items that you've created custom codes for. Special charges are billable to patients, not insurances. You can reposition your charge rows with the arrow, similar to our diagnoses up here. We have EMR codes, which allows you, similar to our A button when we talked about diagnoses that the doctor has added after the claim was billed. If charges are added to the assessment after the claim has been billed, this will let you see that so that before you transmit the claim, you can get those additional quote-unquote late charges on your claim. Copy codes will allow you to see a history of other claims that this patient has had, so that in the case of cyclical billing, such as maybe therapy, standing routine orders when it's the same service month after month, rather than enter the charges from scratch, you can simply select one of the previously billed claims for the same services, and it will duplicate the entire bill. Crossover codes, if relevant, as we discuss in our crossover video, the label would be white. You have the option of either having those codes automatically change on the bill when you transmit it or manually applying the alternate code. Cheat sheet, as we cover in our claim scrubber video, are electronic sticky notes. So instead of having little sticky notes all over your computer, these are different FYIs, reminders, don't forget, that as a biller you want to remember. Claims history will give you a history in a ledger format of all of the claims that this patient has previously had that has been billed. Just give you a charge row breakdown. Then we have our individual charge rows. You'll notice that this is in our common grid. The white fields allow data entry, so you can add your modifiers by typing it in. Or, of course, when there's a binocular, that opens up a search screen that you can choose the appropriate value. Your fees will default in and out of your fee schedule, but you can override them if needed. By default, when there's an insurance on the claim, your fee is going to go to the insurance. If you know the insurance will not cover that charge item and you need to bill the patient, then you click this checkbox, and then that item will be suppressed from the claim when it goes to the insurance, but it will automatically prorate into the patient bucket and be included on the patient statement as a balance due right now. Pointers allows you to put in the A through L indicator as to which ICD code is applicable for this service line. Now notice that if you don't want to do that, you do have a binocular that will allow you to search the diagnoses that have already been assigned to this claim, and then the ICD codes will display. So it's your choice if you want to type in the pointers or if you want to click the binocular and search out of the ICDs that exist up here in your table. We have our CMS flag. Now this is charge row specific for form locator 24 on your claim, and there are different indicators here, such as your EPSDT indicator, if you want to apply a patient discount for a particular charge line. For J-code build, in-house drugs, and you need to include the NDC code, you can do that. If you want to mark a line item as void, meaning suppress it from this claim entirely, we have our service dates and then comments and again, this is all just line item specific. And then, of course, at the very bottom, you have all of your totals. These are just displaying in real time as you are making changes up here. And in the far right, we have our processing indicators. The paper is going to be defaulted for paper claims that have not been set up to go electronically. If the payer is set up in your payer master to go electronically, this indicator will not have a check mark, but it will be enabled so that if you want to force the claim to paper, you can do that. Now, when it is defaulted to paper, it is not enabled because you cannot force a paper claim to go electronically. If you want to put a claim on hold, you can change the status to an H by clicking that box, and notice my ready to send box was disabled. Or if you take it off of hold, you can say the claim is ready to send. If you want to delete your entire claim, that of course will remove history and everything. You will not be able to delete it once payments have been posted, and you will receive a pop-up error telling you open vouchers exist, you cannot delete the claim. Claims that have been billed, you cannot delete. It will tell you that the claim has been billed. Reset is like edit undo. When you're in the middle of making changes, as I've been doing, if I don't want to save them, I can reset it to the original state that it was when I came in. The recalculate button is a useful feature when you do have a claim in edit mode and you are making changes. Keep in mind that the claim that you're looking at right now is a static image as to the moment it got created. plus any changes that you have been making since you opened it. Well, anything that has changed at a system level, meaning at a payer master, at a fee schedule, things of that nature, that directly flows to the claim, those changes are not reflected on your claim yet because that claim was created at a moment in time previously, came over here to practice management, and then at some point after that image was made, a change occurred. So recalculating will basically refresh your image here so that those changes will occur. Reopen is active on a billed claim, and as mentioned up above, archives the original claim and creates a duplicate in ready to bill status. And then of course you can void a claim when needed. And these functions, as stated many times previously, are covered in separate training videos. So in review of our claim detail screen layout, dealing with the 4 sections from top to bottom, we have our work list filter and navigation area, where we can define our filters under the funnel button, which will turn green, and then we have our navigation arrows to move through that work list based upon the filter that we've set. We then have our details header section, where we have links to patient and insurance details, eligibility, pre-authorization or copayment. We have our claim focused action icons, as well as claim tracking and status access. Next, we have our diagnosis table and billing details pane, where we can manage our ICD codes. Note that we do support both ICD-9 and ICD-10 currently. There's also service, location, and fee level details. And then finally, we have our charge details pane, where each charge row can have different scenario-specific links, patient discounts, processing indicators, and then the status flag, whether we're going to release the claim or put it on hold. That concludes this video within the series. Please click the appropriate link below for your next step. If you'd like to take a quiz, you will receive your results in real time directly on the screen so that you can see how well you've done. If you answer incorrectly, the system will prompt you with the correct response. In addition, a confidential email will be sent to the education team to help us better serve you with our educational offerings. Second, advance to the next video within the series you're currently in. And finally, return to the video library main page. As always, feel free to contact us through the Resource Center or email with any additional questions or comments.